This is focusing on the questions here are just going to be worded a little bit differently than what you saw today. The questions that you saw today were all DOK 1 level questions. Remember, DOK 1 level questions mean that it's simple, like 3 plus 3 is 6. 2 plus 4 is 6, those types of questions. These questions take it a little bit more, and because of that, it's going to be a little bit trickier. So you're going to have to read through it, and that's why this particular question I like a lot, this worksheet that I gave you today, simply because it's going... Yes, someone has a question, and I don't have anyone coming in. Okay, so basically, if you have a question, you can type it into the chat, and that will also let you do it, or you can put the microphone on. Okay, Freddie, we can see you. Freddie is photobombing us again because, you know, that makes his life complete. Okay, so remember, your test is on 3 standards, AKS 8, AKS 9, and AKS 10. There are about 5 questions relating to AKS 8. There's about 3 questions relating to AKS 9, and then there's another 3 or 4 questions relating to AKS 10. AKS 8 is all about transformations. So you will have to remember things like isometries, rigid motions, those types of phrases, translations, reflections, rotations. All of those things you are going to have to know for your test tomorrow. There's like 5 questions pertaining to that. 3 or 4 of the questions are going to relate to AKS number 9, using the definition of congruence for corresponding parts. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, but making sure that if it says triangle ABC matches triangle DEF, you know that A and D are going to be the pairs and matching those pairs up. Also, you're going to have... Lastly, you're going to have AKS 10, which is the angle, side, angle. And surprisingly, some of you guys, that saved your tushies today on the test, and other ones of you, that killed it. There was one kid today who got all of the hard questions right and got those particular questions wrong, and it kind of startled me. So that is going to be the last section of your test. Remember, when we talk about what we want to see, you should be able to do the following things. You should be able to understand and interpret transformations in the plane. That's, again, rigid motions, translations, rotations, and reflections. You should also know about the congruence terms, okay? Side, angle, angle, side, angle. We'll sing that song again. And then doing things algebraically. My goal today is to really, even though we started late, we're going to try to get this done in 25 minutes because I want you to be able to watch this video multiple times. We can play Kahoot if you really want to at the end and extend the time, but I want to know what's the most pressing things you need to know for tomorrow. Also down here, the idea of rigid motions and then constructions and stuff we're going to get into more next week. Okay, so let's go to this review sheet that you guys saw today. Now, feel free to turn your microphone on and talk. Like, I don't want to have to do this by myself. So if you have things that you want to share, put your mic on, go ahead and communicate with us, please. You can also answer, of course, in the chat box. And that will just be one way to make it a lot more interesting than me just talking. Also, if you have questions, ask, because you're probably not the only person who has that question. So let's just do this together and make sure y'all get this. I mean, we had, 4 or 5 kids get 100%, so we can totally do that tomorrow. I believe in you. You're going to work hard. So let's take a look here. Several of the questions that you're doing relate to what other piece of information do you need? And you saw that question today. When it says like angle, side, angle, what other things of information do you need? And you saw it here. The best way that you can do this is to draw pictures. There's no other way to do this problem except to draw and kind of analyze it. Here it says, are there enough information? And then if you're saying yes or so, if so, which one? So if we look here, it says 2 triangles. I almost always draw equilateral triangles. It's just me. It says, if you have 2 triangles with congruent side measures of 4, 6, and 9. So I'm just going to sketch it. Here's a 4. Here's a 6, here's a 9. Here's a 4, here's a 6, here's a 9. So if I had those triangles, and I'm going to ask you to participate in chat, if I had those triangles, what could that be? Who's got that? Chat, put your mics on. Let's communicate with each other. No name. One person. No name says side, side, side. Yes, another side, side, side. Looking good. Perfect. We have 3 sides. Yes, looking good. Looking good. So that is a side, side, side. That's correct. And I heard someone else put their mic on and say it. We have side, side, side. So I'm not going to make you put your mics on and sing with me, but we know the song. So let's remember our song. Our song was, oh, we got one more person. Let's get them in first. I already hear someone singing it. That's awesome. Ready? Side, angle, side, 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 angle, side, angle, 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 side. Y'all know it. And remember, our last one's hypotenuse leg. And remember, with hypotenuse leg, we needed 3 things. We needed to have, first of all, what are the 3 things? And remember the 3 things we need for hypotenuse leg? Who has that in the chat box? What 3 things do we need for hypotenuse leg? And I should probably put the chat box on this side of the screen so you guys can see. We need a right angle. Excellent. What else do you need? I definitely should not have this up right now. Right angles, that's one thing. There's 3 things that we need. So you need right angles. What else? A leg and a hypotenuse. The longest side, perfect. Between all of you, you got it. So this was side, side, side. And then we know, so we're looking at side, 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 angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse leg. And our 3 conditions for hypotenuse leg is, first, you have to have a right angle. If you don't have a right angle, you don't have a hypotenuse. Second, you need to have the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is always the longest side of a right triangle. And then third, you need any other leg. Okay. So someone's at the end of their drink. I'm just saying. Okay. 2 triangles, each having a 90-degree angle. So right away, I'm going to draw 2 triangles, 90-degree angle. So we know the conditions for hypotenuse leg is you have to have a 90-degree angle. Check. Then this is where it gets catchy. It says 2 pairs. So 1 pair, if I have here, I have a pair of $5. This is 1 pair of $5, which means I have a total of $10. If I have 2 pairs of $5, that means I'm going to have 5 plus 5 is 10, plus another 5 plus 5 is 10. So I have $20 altogether. So how this says you have 2 pairs of longest sides, that's exactly what this means. We have the longest side, which is the hypotenuse, and then we have another long side. So in that case, go ahead and chat box or put on your mic. What do we have going on for letter B? HL. We have one person say HL. That is correct. We have HL. Yep. Be confident. HL, hypotenuse leg. Absolutely. Now remember, you did see earlier, and this is like a non-example, you did see earlier on one of the Delta maths that you did have a right angle, but we had the 2 legs. What is it? Ooh, perfect, Japanese Jazz. You just totally helped us out. What is it when you have 2 legs and not the hypotenuse? So you have a right angle and 2 legs. Can someone put their mic on and tell us why is it side angle side and not hypotenuse leg? Anyone got that? Anyone brave? Or type it out. Come on. Why is that side angle side and not hypotenuse leg? Because the angle is between the 2 sides. That is one reason. Excellent, no name. The angle is between the 2 sides. That's why it's side angle side. That paper, is not an E-class, but I can put it up. Let me do that right now. This paper is the paper that we gave out today in class. Oh, I guess I don't have to replace it. Let me just jump in E-class real quick and do that for you. And the other thing is, not only do you have the angle is between the 2 sides, you also have it that you don't have the hypotenuse. Remember, the 3 conditions for hypotenuse leg is right angle, hypotenuse, and then the other piece of it. There's a bunch of people asking. Good. I'm sorry. Let's see. I will edit message. File upload. We're getting there. Downloads. Okay, so go ahead and jump into E-class. And there you go. Now it's up. So you should be able to get the study guide from E-class. But again, this is the document you got earlier today. Let's put the meeting back up and put the chat back up. Okay, So perfect. All right, now that's on. So let's keep going. Next, it says two triangles with their longest sides congruent and the smallest angles congruent. Now, someone in one of the classes and I got into a little bit discussion about this. I interpreted it as if we have two triangles, it says with their longest sides congruent. I interpreted it as only like those sides would be congruent. Or I kind of drew those as having a right angle, but even if we make it as an obtuse triangle like this, I interpreted this as two triangles with their longest two sides together instead of both of their longest sides together. For some reason, because it didn't, I interpret it as just one side. And then also the smallest angles. And just so you'll learn more on Wednesday, but the smallest angle is always the angle opposite the smallest side. So in this case, all we have is side and angle. Okay, so this would be not congruent. Now, the other thing they're going to try to get you to do is if you have their two longest sides, and if it was two pairs of their longest side, so just like we had two pairs here, then it would be side angle side. Now, to be transparent, this one question is worded funkity-dunkity. It is not going to be worded funky on your test at all. So you should easily be able to determine what you need to pull up. So that if 1C got you off, don't worry about it. It's not going to be on your test in that funky way. All right, 1D. Two triangles with a pair of congruent angles and one pair of congruent sides. So again, I'm just drawing two triangles. I've got my congruent angles are right here, and I've got congruent sides, and it doesn't even tell me where the congruent sides are located. But again, I only have a side and an angle, so this is going to be not congruent. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about identifying what other piece of information do we need to know for triangle congruence? Because I don't want to move on unless you're comfortable with this, because this is alone is going to be 2 or 3 questions of your test. Okay, can I get thumbs up if we're good to go on, please? Awesome, awesome. All right, I like all these. I'm good. So far, we've got a bunch. If we still need it, we can move on. Next. As I mentioned, one of the AKS that you have to know is AKS number 8. For AKS number 8, that again is talking about rigid motions and transformations. So you're going to have to identify what specific transformation occurred. And if I remember correctly on your test, I want to say the transformation is on a coordinate plane similar to this, but it gives you the coordinates of what the image would be. It doesn't tell you, it doesn't graph the image. So you're going to have to sketch on paper what you think the shape is going to look like so that you can identify what happened. In this case, you probably know already, but go ahead, turn on your mics or go ahead and type what transformation occurred. And if you can be specific, great. But if not, just give the overall which transformation happened. I heard a translation. I heard a rotation. Some more rotations coming up. This is actually a rotation, and it is of 180. Now, let's talk about a translation. In order for it to be a translation, this pre-image shape would have to move exactly the same way somewhere else, where this pointed part of the trapezoid is at the same type of angle. When we look at this, we can see that here's my pointed part, my longest side of the trapezoid. And if I rotate it, I can see that it's facing a different way. So that's why it's a rotation of 180. Now, it's not just a rotation of 180. The other issue that we have going on, and I see that someone contributed that formula. That formula is correct, but it's only correct if it's done around the origin. So it's rotation of 180 degrees, and then you have to say about point, and then what point is it rotating around? Because it's not rotating around the origin. Who's got the point? Excellent. It's rotating around the point -2. Excellent. About point -2, 1. Yes, that's exactly what it is. So we're rotating the shape and we're rotating it about a specific point. So you're going to have to look to tomorrow and see what happens. But let's talk about Actually, we're not going to go on. So does anyone else need me to review transformations, translations, rotations, reflections? Okay, so let me continue and do that. So one more thing to remember, anytime that you have a translation, whatever way the shape is facing, that is exactly what it's going to look somewhere else. So in this case, all it did was slide. Remember, translations, slide. Then we have rotations. Rotations are, if we start with this obtuse triangle, it's now facing the other way. Pretend I drew it correctly. Rotations turn like the wheel of a car. Then you have reflections. And reflections flip. So if you have this shape here, and here's my line of reflection, it flips this way. So that's the main things. Translations slide, rotations turn, reflections flip. All three of these are called isometries. And what isometries are, and someone I saw, Japanese Jad, yep, typed it out. Someone else said it, rigid motions. All these isometries are rigid motions. Certain things happen with rigid motion. First of all, angle measure is preserved. So that means if it was 50 degrees to start, it's 50 degrees after the transformation. If it's 100 degrees to start, it's 100 degrees after the transformation. Remember, all triangles make up 180 degrees. So you're going to have to do a little bit of math tomorrow to figure out a degree measure, or just read the question carefully. You won't have to do any math at all. Anyway, so you got angle measures. Then you have distances. So if something is 5 to start, after the transformation, it's 5 to end. Nothing changes with side. What is the only transformation that changes size? Yay! The only transformation that changes side is dilation. So if it asks you a question, which of the transformations preserves congruence, any of these are correct. Translations, rotations, reflections. But if any of the answer choices have dilation in it for this test, Unit 2A's test, cross it off. It's wrong. That's exactly right. It's completely wrong. Okay, so are we good moving on with transformations? We're going to see transformations again on the back page. So far, so good to move on? The other paper, like, will you have a paper to use while you take your test? Oh, a little bit, only because you're going to have to see, as I mentioned, there's going to be a shape, a figure that's on the coordinate plane, and then it's going to give you coordinates for another shape, and you have to say what happened. So the reason why that paper would help you is it was just a review of like reflections, rotations, and translations. So that would be the only case that you need that. Okay, moving on. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so now we've got here. This goes back again to that first question about what additional information you need to know. This is actually combining two AKS. It's testing, do you know the side, angle, side, 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 angle, side, angle, 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 side, hypotenuse, leg. That's AKS 10. It's also testing, do you know the corresponding parts? So in this example, they said, here's our example, side, side, side. Well, if you had side, 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 what other piece of information would you need? And it said, well, because we only have one side, here and here, we would, in order for it to be, we need three sides. So we would still need to have this side here, which is what they wrote here. And you would still need to have this side here, which is what they wrote here. Remember, sides have two letters. Except I spelled letters completely wrong and put tetters. And angles have three letters. So anytime you're identifying sides, you're going to use 2 points. Anytime you're mentioning angles, you would use 3. Except for this triangle in particular, it's so that it's not complex at all. Like there's not 2 possible letter Z's. So here we would just use the 1 letter. But let's keep going. So this next one says, okay, what other information do you need to get angle, side, angle? Well, right here, we already see that we've got our angles. Then it says we need a side. Well, here's our side. So in order to be angle, side, angle, this is like our Chick-fil-A sandwich that I talked to you before. We need another angle. Yes. You need to have another angle, but you have to make sure the side touches both. So if we picked the angle over here, our issue is that the side is not touching angle Y and it's not touching angle N. So that's why we know it can't be, it can't be Y and N because it's not touching the side. It has to touch the side. So what would the angle have to be? Go ahead and say it, write it out. You know this already because we did it earlier today. What would it have to be for angle, side, angle? Angle, side, X. It has to be X or L. Zaria, nice job. It has to be X or L in order for us to do it. Oh my gosh. Oh no, it is still recording. So X or L is the only way. So here, this would be XL. Angle X would have to be congruent to angle L. The other thing to remember is we could write this differently. We could write this as angle AXY, because I started at A, I went up to X, and then I went down to Y, is congruent to angle MLN. So that's another way that you could do it. You could just write the X or the L, but notice that when you do that, see how this is the angle. This is our money point. Look at how it's in the middle. X is in the middle here. L is in the middle here. Okay, I'm going to trash this whole page so we have more space. Let's work on the next one. Now it says, okay, what do you need for angle, side, angle? Well, or angle, angle, side. Here's our angle. We need another angle, but what other angle do we need? Why do we need N and Y? Excellent. The side is only allowed to touch one angle because look at here. Look at how it's written. It's literally written, this is written ASA, where the side is touching both A's. Exactly. This is written angle, angle, side, where the S is only touching one angle. So our S side can only touch one angle. All right, lastly, we got side, angle, side. Here's our side. Here's our angle. Yep. Well, remember we need two letters to do sides. So it's not going to be Y and N. That would be talking about angles. So we would have to use... Yep. Yep. We would need MN and we would need Z and Y. Look at y'all collaborating together on the internet. What? And you're doing math. You're not even doing like stupid Instagram, Facebook baloney. You're actually learning. All right. Who else needs us to go over this type of question? Are we good to move on? All right. I love it. All right. Let's move on. Oh, can I go over it? Yep. So real quick, let's just do something. Let's see if there's other triangles. All right, I'll just make something up right here. So if we have this information, okay, we got ABC and DEF. So what other information are we going to need if we were going to produce side, side, side? And don't say it right now because I want other people to think about it. So think about it first because I'm thinking. Okay, so go ahead. What was it? A and C and D and F. Yep, that's right. AC, we need the last side. We need AC and we need DF. Okay, what would we need for side, angle, side? Yep, because here's one side, here's our other side, and we need to make sure the angle is where? Touching both of them. So what's the angle that's touching both of them? Yeah, exactly. angle B, and angle F. You always are smart. Y'all just talk, but you're smart. All right. So far, so good. Are we better so we can move on more? Yep. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. All right. So now we've got the pre-image. This is another type of question that you're going to have where you have to determine what happens. So the pre-image of ABC, y'all don't need to see it on my screen. Okay. The pre-image of ABC reflects across the y-axis and then translates 2 left and 1 down. So here we're going to just draw it. Okay. You won't be able to draw it because you're going to be on the computer, but I'll try to have graph paper so you can sketch it. So we know this reflects across the y-axis. Remember, this is our y-axis. So when we reflect, we got to count boxes. 1, 2 this way, 1, 2 this way. And then we've got 1, 2 this way, 1, 2 this way. So right now, this is going to be A prime, which we don't really put A prime, C prime, and B prime. And then it says 2 left and 1 down. So now we're going to each of these points, we go 2 left, 1 down. So this will be our C double prime, our A double prime, oops, and our B double prime. Yep, go for it, Jay. You don't have to, because what you're taking tomorrow is a multiple choice test. And then I have another worksheet you're going to do that's extra, but it's not part of the test grade. So you don't have to stress it. Yep, but the questions are going to be harder. The questions are going to be more like what you're seeing right now. That's the difference. So it's going to be just a little bit more funky. That's it. Okay, so then it says identify the series of rules. I'm not going to go into details, but in theory, first, if we started with XY, well, we know that when we reflect on the y-axis, the x changes and the y stays the same. So that's why I wrote on my paper negative y, positive x, because whatever the x coordinate, it changed, and then the y stayed the same. And then here it says that it went 2 left. So we know anytime we do a translation, whatever you start with, you're going to subtract 2 and then 1 down. So we do negative 1. If this is too cray-cray, don't worry about it. Just keep moving on. Because again, tomorrow it's going to be a multiple choice test. So you'll be more easily able to determine going for it. And yep, and Jay was correct. This test tomorrow is technically speaking a geometry core grade. However, if your geometry core grade is higher than the grade you got today in strategies, it will replace your strategies grade. And so it could count for both. So like some people today got like an, I had one person who got, several people got a 67 because they missed one of the partial points, and that would have been a 70. So if tomorrow you get an 85, it doesn't even matter, and the grade book is going to be 85. Okay. Okay, so Kamaya, I will show you tomorrow. I can pull it up and show it to you. The way that it was scored is each of the drag and drops were equal to 1 whole point, and then some of the other ones there were partial credit. So I can show you exactly what you got wrong tomorrow. All right, are we good to move on with transformations? It seemed like before we were pretty much okay. Okay, so this next question is the last thing on your test. It is a big question on your test. So if you don't understand it, you need to tell it to me. But it's definitely a multi question on your test. It comes up at least twice. And then there's 2 more things I need to show you, and then we're done. Okay. Will the indicated parts remain the same after isometries? The main thing with isometries is excellent rigid motion. After you have rigid motion, what are our 3 transformations with rigid motion? Excellent. Translation, rotation, and reflection. Okay, so anytime you have rigid motions, anytime you have isometries, anytime you have rotations, reflections, or translations, several things happen. First of all, guaranteed, the angles are always the same. The shape is always the same. Maybe not how it's turning or looking, but it's the same. So all of my containers of water, there we go. Water bottle. Top, bottom. Translation, still the same water bottle. Right here. top, bottom, rotation. Oh, you can't? Thank you. I'm doing all these gestures and you can't see it. Better? Okay. Thank you for saying that. So water bottle, top of the water bottle, bottom of the water bottle. So if I translate it, the top is still the top. It's not like the water bottle got bigger or smaller. This is still the same circumference that it was before. If I have my water bottle and I rotate it, yes, it looks different, but the size is the same. The angle measures, the edges, if I was specific, would be exactly the same. If I reflect it and I flip it across my face, same water bottle. So you have to think about it. If I measured this all the way around, perimeter, same. If I took the volume, same. If I took the area, same. Anything that deals with measurement, distance, anytime it's translation, rotation, reflection, same, 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 same. The only things that aren't are when it's dilations. So here it says, what remains the same? The measures of the angles, yep, same. Why? Because angle measure is preserved. The length of the side, same. Why? Because distance is preserved. And remember, on your test, it's going to be multiple choice. Perimeter, that's going to be the same again. Why? Because how do you find perimeter? Here's my drawing tablet that I'm using to show you. Okay, so here's my drawing tablet. So here, if I was to take the perimeter, I would have to measure all of these sides. Well, if the sides are always the same, my drawing tablet is still going to be the exact same size. So that's why perimeter is going to be the same. I'm not going to write all that out, but that's why. Coordinates not at the center of rotation. Here's my shape. If here's where I'm rotating it and it's down here, obviously it's going to be different. Okay? So that's not going to have anything to do with how you rotate it. So that would be those would be different. And then here, yes. Nope. If it was at the center of rotation, it would actually be the same. And if we can get it from right here, how this point was our center of rotation, even after we did the rotation of 180 degrees, the point still stayed the same. So that would be the case where it would be the same if it was a rotation. Down here, I actually had the wrong question on the paper for people in first period. The coordinates of the line reflection, because I read it as not on the line of reflection. But if we have a shape and here is our line of reflection, obviously when we reflect it, this point stays the same. And the reason is that it's on. I wrote it that it's not on. And again, if we look up here, right here when we drew it and we did the reflection, that's where we kind of understood it. Okay. What? Oh, someone wants to do a Kahoot. Do other people want to do a Kahoot? Yep. Okay. So let me just talk about a couple more things real quick. And I'm just going to use this space here because it's available. So when you have this, remember that if I'm given information like this angle is 50, this angle is 60, and this angle is 70, then if this says ABC, and then here it looks like this, watch how I'm going to write it. Triangle ABC, if they tell you triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EFD, you need to make sure that you pay attention to the corresponding sides. So here A has to map to E. B has to map to F. So it doesn't always go alphabetically. You have to pay attention. How do the letters look? So if it says triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ZXY, again, the hint that I showed you last week is write it on top. ABC goes on top, ZXY goes underneath, and then it'll always match up perfectly. Go ahead. Correct. Can you explain to me how a 1C, how is it not congruent? Yep, let's go take a look. 1C, we talked about that it could be considered congruent or it could not be considered. The reason why I said not congruent is because in this one, it talked about two pairs. So when I had the two pairs of the longest side, when I had the right angle, let me do that again. We knew it talked about two sides, but I said the reason why I said no is because it didn't say they're two longest pairs of sides. So that's why I interpret it as you only had one side and one angle. But if you interpret it as two pairs of sides, then you could do side angle side for that one. All right, let me find a Kahoot. Is your favorite? Let me see. I want to try to find a Kahoot that you actually need to do, though. We're not doing bizarre sports. Let's see. I did not know you guys wanted to be here so long, so I didn't have one prepared like last time. Man, I don't want to do one that's like 26 questions. That's going to be forever. Nope, that's not good. Let me see this one. Nope, that's not going to be on your test. All right, let's just do old school triangle congruence. Because that will definitely be on your test. It might only be 4 or 5 questions, but it'll be on it. So will anyone find one they think looks interesting? Oh, this is a good one. Do you have enough information? We'll do this one. Because that's, I think, 2 of the questions on your test. All right, let's put random name generator on so people don't just, be crazy. I know you only get 3 tries. All right, I'll be right back. I have to go check something. All right, are we ready to go on? Okay. All right, here we go. If you want to join in, join in. You don't have to participate. There's only 9 people on, so I'm pretty sure it's just us. All right, we are going to try to go, what? Quickly. $20 seconds. Yay, 5 people. Next. You can't? For real? People are reading it. How can you not see anything? Yes, that's got the hidden vertical angles. Okay, so right here, these angles, it's got an X, so that means you have angles that are congruent. So let's look at this real quick. So right here, because these form an X, these angles are vertical angles, and we know vertical angles are congruent. That's it. Okay. So anytime you see an X, you know you have vertical angles. And also don't forget about the reflexive property. Anytime they share a line, that's the reflexive property. Like this picture. That's the reflexive property. It's fine. Yep, that's the side, the third side right there. Ooh. We got an X. Yep, that is angle, side, angle. Because here's our angle. I don't know why that took it off. But here's our angle here. Here's our side, and then we have these two angles are congruent because of vertical angles. Like the sandwich, exactly. That is right, Kalia. Okay, it is no. Remember, side, angle, side, 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 angle, side, angle, 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 side. Here we have an angle. We have two sides, but we don't have the sandwich. So we have the donkey. This one's the donkey one. ASS was the donkey, side, side, angle, or angle, side, side. So that what the answer to that one was no. Yeah, don't listen to a J-man. There's literally no side marking, so you know you don't have hypotenuse. Guess, come on, 2-1. Yay! Let's look at this one. Okay, angle, check. Angle, check. A side that doesn't touch both angles. Angle, angle, side. Nope. Angle, angle, angle is a similarity postulate, but it is not a triangle congruence postulate. So you won't learn that until after October. How many points? What? Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right, all right. Angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. That was easy. Ooh, here's a good trick one. Do you have right angles? Yes. Do you have the hypotenuses? Yay! Angle, check. Sides, check. No hypotenuse, so this is side, angle, side. Side, angle, side, 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 side. Look at it again. They're not equilateral triangles. Equilateral triangles, all the sides are the same. They're right triangles. Here's the right angle. So that gives us angle. Here's our side here. That one matches this one. And this one matches this one. In order for it to be hypotenuse leg, they would have had to given us this side, which is opposite the right angle. Like the sandwich. I know, man. I came right from the car dealership here, and I was like, I had to call and have Freddie turn the computer on so I could get started as soon as I ran into the driveway. Angle, right angle, check. Right angle. Longest side, check. Check. The other side, yep. Yep, check, check. Oh my gosh, if someone gets this wrong, I'm gonna be like so upset. I know, I'm like, I might have to mute that one side. You did! Everyone got it right. Everyone got it right. Side to side. Oh, this one you don't know yet. And this one you might not need to know yet. That one I'm going to teach you on Wednesday. Let's see what this question is. This one you don't know yet. You went in anyway. Okay. All right. Trick question. Parallel lines. Trick question. Parallel lines. Parallel lines cut by a transversal. What does that mean? 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yay! What? This is wrong. It's not side, side, side. It's side angle side. So yep. Here's our parallel line here. And that's parallel to this line. This line's our transversal. So that means that, but it does give it to you. Because of these parallel lines, you know you have alternate interior angles. So you do have it. I know, that's why I told you it's wrong. Yep. So here we have our angle. Here we have our side. And then this is our other side. So we actually, oh wait, hold on. No, it's actually SSA. It's the bad one. So no is correct. You got it right. No is correct. Yep, that one was wrong. Okay, better. Here we have, yep, here we have our two angles, alternate interior angles. Here we have our sides. We've got side angle, and then we've got the reflexive property for the side right here. 4 more questions. Okay, so looking here, we've got our side. Here's our angle. Even though they're right angles, we still have our angles because all right angles are congruent. And then you've got the side. So you got side angle side. So you have two sides. Good. You have two sides. We have this line here and we have the reflexive property here. So the question is the angle between the two sides? No. The angle would have to be between the two sides for side angle side. So because we have our two sides here, which you can't see where I'm pointing, can you? Because we have our two sides here, this angle would have to be here, but we don't have that angle. We have this one. So that's why it's the SSA donkey one. This one you might have to skip. Yep. And this one you have to skip. So we're done with the Kahoot. Let's see who's our winners. Eager Boa, Cute Leopard, Genesis, Tropical Emu, and Caring Fox. Okay, so what are our last things? Are we good to go? We're ready for the test. We're ready to kill this. Hundreds, 90s. Yep. Yep. What's your question? Correct. Angle, angle, angle is only for dilations, and you're not going to have dilations to Unit 2C, excuse me, which is around Thanksgiving. Or, excuse me, around Halloween. Yep. Correct. So if we have our vertical angles here and we have these sides, that's side, angle, side. And if we have it like this and we have our vertical angles, it could be angle, side, angle if you were given these angles. Correct. As long as there's a tip, that means it's vertical angles. What else? Are we good? Goodbye. Love you. See you tomorrow. 52 minutes. We're good. Yay. Bye. Thank you for signing on. You guys are awesome. I'm going to turn this off first, and then I'm going to turn off the webcam. Bye.